This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We both lost babies to SIDS in winter 2021.
In the throes of grief, I reached out to a stranger on the internet and our friendship was born.
In the years since, we've been working hard to survive, rebuild, and navigate the continual challenges that have come our way, including divorce,
Job loss,
dating while bereaved,
moving multiple times,
health scares,
pregnancy and parenting a living child,
starting new jobs, and so much more.
We are tired.
Happily ever after is out of the question for us, but this podcast documents our journeys to happier ever after because we believe life after loss is worth living.
So join us as we laugh, cry until we laugh.
Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast. We are coming at you live from our grief retreat. So if you hear crickets or squirrels or birds of any kind, or fish, or loons,
Or a wooden puzzle.
or a wooden puzzle, or a beer cracking, it's because we are
retreating.
We are retreating.
Okay, so actually, like, something I just...
And just for the record, when we're saying puzzle, Judith is actively working on a puzzle as we're talking about this. It's a 3D puzzle of an owl.
3D owl puzzle.
So,
which I'm excited about. And next year I'm going to remember my paint because I wish I could paint right now.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that.
So we are sitting on the deck to set the stage, looking at a beautiful lake.
We should do more grieving later. I feel like we haven't done a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did a little yesterday, but we
did a little bit, yeah.
We put on our grieving soundtrack. That worked yesterday.
It worked great. We kickstarted the Crying with Ronan by Taylor Swift, and then moved on to
Whatever's
Dancing
on
in the Sky.
We did the hits.
We listened to the As Long As I'm Living grief crowdsourced playlist, which was excellent. Really did the trick.
It actually really was good. Hey.
Project a little louder.
It was really good. It was actually really good. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that it was good. It was just, I was surprised sometimes because it felt like every single one of those songs I would have chosen.
Yeah.
You know? I was surprised at how much it hit the right note.
Yeah. So good job, crowd.
Good job. So, I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. We're here.
We're
alive.
Should we just talk and then see if we want to make it something?
Yeah.
If not.
Let's do it.
But how does that sound?
Sounds perfect. Okay. I wish that guy wasn't, like, mowing his lawn or whatever it is that he's doing.
It's so funny because I was just like, I haven't heard the lake at all today because we had the music on.
Yeah. It's nice to hear the lake sounds.
I wanted to hear the lake sound, but then the guy started mowing his lawn.
Yeah.
He'll stop.
I guess you have to mow your lawn sometime if you live here.
Okay. I made a slightly mistake.
How so?
I don't know which letters are which shapes. I popped them all out of the tray, so I can't find them. It says step 1. It says instructions. Carefully push out each piece. Pay attention to the left and right sides of the piece. Well, I missed that step. I just read step 1. Put all the parts together in order to the diagrams. Oh my god.
Judith.
I didn't. Oh my god. I did not read the instructions past the first one, which says carefully push out each piece from the board. Then it says pay attention to left and right side of the piece. Fucking god, I did not do that.
There's just a pile of wooden pieces here.
That's okay. I'm gonna wing it. This is how you know that I am type B, because someone else would have read like all the steps and whatever. Okay.
Do you want me to try to find out where they are, or are you just gonna make it work?
Well, I'm gonna make it work, but you could also try to do that. Let's see if we make any progress. My husband could be here because he would laugh at me so hard. He would laugh so hard. He'd think this is the funniest thing he's ever seen. Because
it is a very Judith thing to have done. I'm going to be honest with you. That is not how I would have gone about that. You know, we asked on Instagram earlier, do people relate to one of us more? Let's see what people say. Do you think people are going to relate to one of us more than the other?
I already saw the results.
What did they say?
They said half of them said I relate to one of you more than the other, and half of them said I relate to the same amount. No one said I don't relate to it all, which I think is sweet.
You're right. It's half and half.
Okay, wait.
Aha! So listeners, fun fact, that transition music that I just sang poorly was written especially for As Long as I'm Living podcast by Oscar-winning, right? He won Oscars,
He won
right?
something.
By Oscar-winning composer Aitor Pereira, who also he wrote part of the Road to El Dorado soundtrack. He works with like Hans Zimmer on things. I'm making that up, but I think that's true.
He did write the Road to El Dorado.
So they happened to know someone in Judith's life, and that person said that Judith was starting a podcast, and
asked if they would be
Aitor
open
was
to.
like, "Oh, I'll write a theme song." So he gave us 3 options, and the one we selected is called "You Are Not Alone," and it goes. Dun, 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 dun. You guys know it. I'll insert it here. you know the one. But those were supposed to be for our theme song, so we didn't feel like it set the right tone. And our theme song.
Oh, can you pass it to me?
Judith just dropped a piece of wood, and we thought it was going to go through the deck. We thought it was going to be. What was I going to say?
I think we thought that the ones that he was going to send us were a little more like upbeat, and they were a little more.
They were a little bit more
downbeat.
like. They were a little bit more like Dead Baby podcast.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like our theme song is like Happiest Sad podcast.
I agree.
You know?
No, I agree.
And so our theme song was selected. I picked I went to YouTube and got a bunch of royalty free. That's beautiful. You're making an owl.
Yeah.
A bunch of royalty free songs, and we looked at like 10 of them, and we picked one. And that was pretty much it.
Like everything in our podcast, I feel like it was quick, fast.
Yeah.
We're
pretty decisive.
We're very decisive. It wasn't like, let's belabor this and think about what would fit us, beyond like.
Yeah. That's also true for the title of the podcast, too.
You're not going to believe this, but I did step 1.
I'm very proud of you.
Ha-ha!
Look at you go.
Look at me go.
That also was the same thing as with the name of the podcast.
Yeah, it was quick.
We were what was the other titles that we considered the bottom?
Yeah, that I would have come up with something like that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. We were thinking about calling it the bottom, or like bottoms up, or like bottom to whatever.
Did you come up with As Long as I'm Moving? Did that resonate with you? Is that what happened?
I think you came up with it. Because I didn't really read that book. That's not a book that has a lot of meaning to me.
Right. Yes. Well, I think it was good.
Yeah.
It's a good fit.
I think it's a really good fit. I'm pretty
job.
proud of the title.
I'm pretty proud of the title, too. How do you think about Quinn every day? Because I said that. I know you don't think about him all day every day.
Mm-mm.
I know you don't think about him when you wake up in the morning.
Mm-mm.
So, what do you mean by I think about him every day?
I don't know that I explicitly think about him every day. But I do think that there's a part of me that's thinking about him almost all the time. Like, almost constantly. But the ways that I think about him explicitly are like, things remind me of him, and so I think about him. Sometimes it's a time that he should explicitly be there, and so I'm missing him. I also talk to him. There are certain times that I feel really like he's right there, and usually when I'm running, I feel like he's right there. And in bed is another time that I feel like he's right there. When he first died, I used to talk to him while I was brushing my teeth. It just felt like it used to feel like a very tolerable thing that I did every day. But it was short, and it was short-lived. So while I was brushing my teeth, I would talk to him for that time and then set it aside. It was like a way for me to like ease into the idea of talking to someone who didn't exist. And I don't do that anymore at all. I actually at the time was like, oh, maybe this will be my time to talk to him, is when I'm brushing my teeth forever. And that's not what happened. I don't do that anymore. I don't know. How do you think about Aiden?
I don't know, but I think about him every day. I don't know. I guess I've been thinking about my baby, my alive baby, and my husband like throughout this trip. So it's like I'm not with them, but I think about them. So like I kind of was thinking about it because I was like wondering if I think about him the way I think about them right now. That's kind of it. So I'm like, how's she doing? Oh, she's playing with this toy.
Oh, I wonder what she's up to.
Or in the morning, I wonder if she slept well. Or like, even when I was on the deck, I was like, I wonder if my husband like would have been inside reading, or
Yeah, what would he be doing if he were here?
yeah, that's what I we were even speaking about that.
Yeah.
Does he like them? Like, does he like boats? Does he not like boats? That's kind of how I think about Aiden. Like, kind of the same. Like, I'll be sitting like on a boat. I mean, no, I don't sit on boats in my normal life. I'd be like driving down a street, and then like, I don't know, I'll turn right, and I'll be like, oh, this intersection kind of reminds me of like this one intersection when I was pregnant with him.
Exactly.
Kind of like that. Or
Yeah.
I'll be like, it's because we have the podcast. It's kind of helpful because I'll like sit down and look at Instagram, and I'll think about him, or I'll think of something to post. I don't know, like, because we're working on the podcast, it gives me kind of like constructive time to think about him.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sometimes I think about him like just in the context of being my child's sibling. So it's like, she's doing that, so I wonder if he would have done that. Sometimes I look at her eye color and I wonder if he would have had the eye color. Yeah. I look at like her hair and I look at it and think about his hair. Or like, he's in my house everywhere, so like I don't really have a choice not to think about him because his picture is everywhere.
Yeah,
so
I definitely see his face.
Yeah.
In photos in my house.
Yeah.
10 times a day minimum.
Yes.
And I probably see his face in my head 20 times a day other times. But I really only
maybe
like
not always like that.
But I really like I really only like sit and actively like think about him. Yeah. Like he occurs to me and I think about him and continue to think about him and choose to think about him probably once a day every day.
I think that's true. And then it's so funny because sometimes I'll have this thought like, see, Judith, you think about him every day. You were so worried that you would think about him all day, every day. But you don't. You just think about him right now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like in between my work. It's like in between my dinner making. Yeah. It's in between those seconds.
It just fits in.
It just comes in and comes out.
I was really sad in the beginning that I would stop thinking about him.
Right.
That I would think about him
all day, every day, constantly.
That it felt like if I didn't think about him all day, every day, constantly, I was being a bad mom or like something. And I think I didn't quite understand how I could still love him, care about him, miss him, wish he were here, and not be sad every single minute of the day. Yeah. Like I just didn't understand how that was possible.
I didn't
Hello,
either.
hello, hello. Alina here. I'm editing the podcast, putting together a little something about our grief retreat. We didn't record a fully official episode this week, but we do have those snippets you just heard that we recorded while we were there. And the rest of this episode is going to be just a little bit of a conversation we had on the drive home. So apologies for the audio quality, but we wanted to just get something out there about what we do for our grief retreat and why we do it and how it's changed over the years and all of that. So that will be the rest of this episode. The audio, again, we were in the car driving, so it's not the best, but I still think it's worth listening to. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good week and a good long weekend if you are in the United States celebrating Labor Day today. Bye, guys.
Okay, so this was our third group retreat. Just for clarification, it's not an organized retreat. It's just me and Alina. Eating snacks, not sober, at a lake. And I know that people thought that it was like a formal group, that we had like a group of people at this retreat. That we were. I don't know if they thought that we were going to one that other people put on, or if we were putting it on. I
didn't invite anybody.
I'm not sure, but I just want to make sure people know that it's just us.
It's literally just us, and you could do this too. All you have to do is rent a lake house and bring
some beer and snacks. There you go. Retreat. So what did we do this time that was different or the same as last time? We ate a lot.
We had a lot more energy this time. We went out. We did excursions. So we did a hike. We went on day trips. We went to some small towns in Maine and did some little lunches. We ate so much food, which is a big difference from year one where I still wasn't really eating.
Yeah. This is the first year. I don't think that we did a lot with the podcast aside from those questions, but I did feel like just in general we were communicating back with people at home more. I was talking to my husband. I was checking on the baby on the thing. You were, which for better or for worse, you were also checking in on your husband, talking about plans. You were less isolated, I think, in previous years.
Yep. Agreed.
I would say that this year felt to me like less highs and lows and more like consistent
fun.
Consistent fun.
And
did you have fun?
I had so much fun.
You did?
I did. And I feel really privileged. We talked about this morning. Like, I feel super privileged to be able to take this time and do this. And I feel really grateful that we happened to started doing this in the middle of the summer, because our boys' death anniversaries are in winter, and that's a whole other time of year that we reflect, but it feels in a very sad, griefy, negative way, that it's more of a reflection on all I've lost over the last year and what I've missed out on with Quinn. That's what the death anniversary feels like. And this feels like an annual time for me to reflect on my healing and reflect on the positives that have come from it and my rich relationships and this podcast and all that stuff. So it's nice to have like the winter morning annual retreat of sending me into outer space for grief with the death anniversary, and then the summer annual reflection time with the positives.
100% I agree. I think that in previous years, I think this is a real shift. I think that, and I'm hopeful that the shift continues, like just the space to talk about our children that died. I think we spoke about it in the context of so many things. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like, and everything is horrible, and I lost this, can you believe this, and we're homeless, and like, can you believe that? Like, I feel like we spent a lot of time the first couple years just being like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
You know? And this year we were like talking about how like, oh, okay, I could see how that was actually like,
that worked out okay
in the end. And what do you think is going to happen next year? And in terms of like activities that we do, so we had planned to hammer wood and like sledgehammer wood. But
my husband set us up with some things to smash, but we didn't do that.
The only one thing I wish we would have done differently this year is I wish we would have bought like my paint, because in past years I got to paint, which I love, and I didn't get to paint this year, so that made me sad. But
I think
we don't really have like activities,
right? And I think if anyone's going to take something away from this, is like what was the best part about this that feels so good. It just feels good to be with someone who you can laugh uproariously with, and then cry 5 minutes later, and then go back to laughing, and there's no discomfort, and there's something so nice about feeling like I can just burst into tears, and it doesn't feel like a burden to Judith. Like, it doesn't feel like she has to take care of me, or she can cry and I can just kind of let her cry over on the side. Like, we just like flow through feelings, and that is what that's the benefit of this
also
trip.
Another thing I really love about it is how openly we talk about Aiden and Quinn. Like, we just talk about them like literally in between talking about the weather. You know, it's raining. Did Quinn have rainy days? No, snow was the winter. Like, things like that. Just very seamlessly. There's no reaction. It's just like...
Yes. Or, like, even stuff like, oh, I have my period. Like, oh, I remember my first postpartum period. Like, you know, like, just, like, literally all the normal stuff that anyone would normally talk about that you don't get to talk about because the child is dead.
Yes. Pretty much. And then in terms of, like, what we did, we went on a boat and stared at the sky.
Yep.
We rowed the boat and stared at the sky.
Yep.
We danced a little bit.
Yep.
We made a fire.
We got made 2 fires, actually.
I did some stand-up paddleboarding.
We did some supping. Yep.
What else did I do? I stared at the ceiling.
You made a wooden owl.
I made a wooden owl.
Judith did an arts and crafts project.
You read a little bit of a book.
I did read a little bit of a book. Carrie Soto is back for all my book club babes out there.
We listened to a lot of music. We tried to learn a Taylor Swift dance.
Didn't go well.
Did not go well.
It just wasn't a good dance.
It wasn't a good dance. It was too many moves.
Yeah.
What else? That's what we did. Just hung out.
Yeah.
Just laid there and did nice things and lit candles, and we always have a picture of the boys. I made a bouquet of flowers on our hike, and we always like put the flowers.
And we always start the weekend by like saying a little something to Aiden and Quinn and all that, and we ask them for signs. And you know, Aiden really showed up for you.
Aiden really showed up. We'll leave that for a story for another time.
To all of our wonderful new friends, we want to hear from you. Email us at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. We'll get back to you as soon as our grieving brains allow. Yay!